Lately I've been doing some testing of the new companions coming to ESO's Necrom chapter, and while I like the overall theme and personalities of both of them a lot, one of these companions has some real problems when it comes to combat. Hey everybody, HTM here, back on the PTS server, and if you haven't heard yet, the Necrom chapter will be adding 2 brand new companions. Sharp as Night is an Argonian Warden, and Azandar is a Redguard Arcanist. And I have thoroughly tested both companions, and while it's still early, I wanted to showcase their skills for you here, and also talk about what I think still needs to change. So let's start with Azandar, who is the Arcanist, and check out his skills. And I'll start actually with his offensive tree called Scholar of Apocrypha. So the ultimate here, Tentacular Eruption, is pretty powerful. It does a lot of damage, knocks enemies up and stuns them, and pretty interesting here, it gives major vulnerability for 4 seconds that increases their damage taken by 10%. So a really nice debuff for a companion. Then he has Triune Word. This is similar to Rune Blade, so it's going to do magic damage 3 times, pretty basic. Tendrils of the Colorless Sea is going to be his Abyssal Impact style skill. This is physical damage plus minor vulnerability to targets that's going to increase their damage taken by 5%. So another nice debuff for enemies here. And then Fate Omen's Inspiration, Azandar charges their weapons with Apocryphal Energy, applying minor Berserk. So increasing your damage by 5%. Really nice overall. Let's go ahead and check out Quill Knight, which is the defensive or the tank skill line. So Scathing Rune is interesting. This is a taunt, so a companion taunt, not requiring sword and shield. It also applies minor maim, so this is in fact better than the companion sword and shield taunt because it also gives you that debuff. 5% damage done reduction. This is really nice. Augmented Ward is a damage shield. This one I'm not a big fan of because the shield size is so small. You can see there on the tooltip. Yes, it does do magic damage, a lot of magic damage, but that's just one time back to the target. I would love to see a stronger shield, plus some damage reduction here. Most other companions actually have like 20% damage reduction in their tank skill line, and these new companions do not, which is a little interesting. And then finally, Fear of the Unknown, just a basic single target stun, nothing fancy here. Finally, the healing skill line is called Revitalizing Researcher. Triptych Physic, this gives you a heal similar to the Arcanist heal, so it's 3 quick heals back to back. Decent amount of healing done, and it has a short cooldown, which is nice. Shields of Erudition is really good, you guys. This is a strong shield, but not only that, this can apply up to 3 targets, so the companion and 2 allies. This is going to be very good for tanks and healers. And then Zone of Recuperation, just a nice area heal, but with a bonus thrown in here, 150 health, magicka, and stamina recovery. This is really good. Unique buff that's going to stack with everything. So I am a big fan of this one too. So we'll go ahead and do a quick test here of Azandar as a tank build. Nothing fancy here, just a combination of vigorous and quickened gear. And then as far as those skills, using the Arcanist taunt for that minor maim. On Guard is from Sword and Shield. This is a really good damage shield for tanking companions. Zone of Recuperation for the healing, the AoE healing, and the recovery. Shield of Erudition, this is just really good. He needs it. He needs another shield. So, yep, that one. And then the Triptych Physic for a burst heal plus the ultimate. So I got just a world boss here. I like testing on this one because it hits fairly hard. So it'll be a decent test of a companion tank. So right away, he taunts it, debuffs it with minor maim. He's got his area heal down, some basic attacks here. Right there is the burst heal plus a shield, which is good. It's got the AoE heal back up. There's the taunt. There's the burst heal again. So staying pretty much full health for the most part. He's refreshing those shields, which is good. So yeah, as far as just basic world boss encounters, Azandar as a tank seems to serve pretty well. So I also ran Azandar through some tougher content like world bosses with ad pulls. Just to see how he did. Survival is still pretty good just from the Arcanist heal kit. And especially those damage shields, but you see he will struggle a little bit here staying alive. Again, I'm not trying to do anything to help him, just sort of see how he survives by himself. And you can see with the stuns and the extra ad pulls here, he does get in trouble a little bit. Like I said, I think the one weak point here, at least in his tank skills, is that augmented ward skill. It really needs some damage reduction as other companions have. But other than that, if you're looking for an interesting, tank companion that provides a lot of debuffs, plus actually some good buffs for you, minor berserk plus bonus recoveries, I think Azandar is in good shape right now, at least at the start of the PTS. I did test him out as well as a healer. I think he's going to do equally well as a healer companion. The Arcanist toolkit in general is really good for healing and support. The combination of burst healing, heal over time, and especially that group shield. With the other buffs and debuffs we talked about, yeah, there's a lot of good possibilities here for healing, DPS. So I did find a lot to like here about Azandar as a companion. Next up is Sharp as Knight, the Warden Argonian companion, and unfortunately doesn't really live up to what I saw with Azandar, the Arcanist. I'll jump into the skills here to show you in a minute, but basically sort of a lack of anything interesting, whether it's unique effects, major buffs, minor buffs, or debuffs. There's actually a lot that could be improved here, and I hope that the developers do make some changes. So starting with the offensive skill line, it's called Beast of the Hunt, and Swoop is his main DPS skill. So summon a dive bomb from a cliff racer, dealing magic damage. You do get off balance if they are more than 7 meters away from the target. Char is sort of like the Deep Fissure clone. This does magic damage 2 times, once initially and then once after a 3-second delay. And then Infest is the Fetcher Flies, basically a damage over time. And this does apply minor vulnerability, though it's just to one target, not to a group like Azandar has access to. Gore is the ultimate skill here. It does a lot of damage. It does a 3-second stun and execute damage as well. So this is probably the best skill in the entire toolkit. If you can manage to get this off on an enemy with low health, it's quite strong. But you can see, other than the minor vulnerability from Infest, there's really no unique buffs or debuffs that the companion is providing. I mean, off balance, sure, that's fine, I guess. It's just a single target. I think they did miss an opportunity here with Char, the Deep Fissure clone, to apply Major Breach. Something like that would make the offensive skills stand out a lot more. The healing skill line is called Verdant Growth. Fungal Forge is a basic heal skill. Heals in front of you for 50% more, but I would like to see something here. Wardens get recovery from this heal. That would be a nice addition. Perennial Bloom is an AoE heal and heal over time. Heals decent, but again, no additional effects on this skill. And then Petals of the Hunter is a nice idea in theory. This causes the companion to do heals based on light attacks, but companions don't really light attack weave. They don't consistently do light attacks, and in fact, if you were to run all Quicken traits or the new companion gear set, you would barely do any light attacks at all, so that basically renders this heal very ineffective. Sleep Mail is an armor buff that grants Major Resolve, which does not stack with player Major Resolve, so you don't get any benefit from this at all. Sharp gets a little bit of extra armor, but this doesn't provide a lot of defense. Plus, it only lasts for 5 seconds, which I think is a little bit odd. This definitely needs some improvement. Then you've got Cold Snap, which is a decent area immobilize, does damage over time as well. It's based on Sharp's max health, so that one's not bad. And Snow Squall is actually a very strong healing effect. This does have a very strong burst heal and heal over time effect, but there is a long cooldown. Now, as you could see, there's absolutely no shields here for Sharp in the defensive tank skill line. This is a major problem. No damage reduction either, so he is going to struggle quite a bit when it comes to tanking or absorbing damage, especially in more difficult content. So I ran Sharp through the same bosses as Azandar, and while he did do a decent job as a DPS and as a healer, as a tank he really struggled to keep up, as you can see during this fight. Basically, while facing off with a boss, he is barely able to keep his health pool up, and if any adds or extra mechanics happen along the way, he doesn't stand much of a chance. Again, I think this has to do with lack of damage shields. Azandar has 2, while Sharp as Knight has 0. There's also that lack of any damage reduction skills that we talked about previously, other than that short duration armor buff, which really is not that useful. It also surprised me that Sharp has almost 0 named buffs or debuffs or unique mechanics to set him apart from other companions, as the Warden class is pretty well known for its buffs. As I said, it is still early on in the PTS, however, and I did pass this feedback along to the developers, so we'll hopefully see some changes soon before these companions go live. Either way, I will have guides for both companions on the website, that's hacktheminotaur.com. You can check those out right now with the link below, and expect to see some companion builds out very soon as well. Of course, if you'd like to see more ESO and Necrom content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and thanks again for watching.